The Vancouver Canucks picking Vasili Podkolzin 10th overall in the NHL draft was one of the more interesting picks of the first round. Not just because I'm a Canucks fan, but because of the intriguing tangibles that Podkolzin brings as a prospect and his inherent risks. The Russian winger checks off many boxes for a Vancouver team that is building a strong stockpile of young talent, and the addition of Podkolzin immediately gives the Canucks a potentially key top 6 winger of the future. At first glance, there's a lot to like about his hard-working game. His highlight reel is littered with ridiculous end-to-end rushes and defenders having to pick up their jockstraps from the stands. He's also one of the best forecheckers I've ever seen at his age, but as you watch more of him, you begin to notice his deficiencies. The most glaring area that Podkolzin needs to improve upon is his skating. He's able to get around the ice well enough, mostly due to his hustle, and he's powerful enough on his edges, but his stride will need work. Secondly, his decision-making with the puck can at times be questionable. You often see him trying to force a play by himself when a simpler one that uses teammates is the smarter and more efficient decision. I've heard the argument that due to his teammates consistently changing as he went up and down in the Russian leagues, he was unable to build chemistry and trust with his line mates, and while I have time for this theory, he did move around quite a bit. I still don't believe that's anywhere close to the entire story when we talk about Podkolzin as a decision-maker with the puck. These two areas of concern are what I will be diving into. However, let's quickly start off by talking about the high reward that Podkolzin's game can bring to the Vancouver Canucks. Usually, I don't like to talk about a player's compete level because in order to get to the level that Podkolzin is at, you have to have a competitive personality to some degree. I hear the term relentless motor thrown around to describe players who, if I'm being honest, don't really do anything that special, and saying he has a good motor is one of the only descriptors an evaluator can come up with. However, there are exceptions, and Vasili Podkolzin is one of them. His hunger and all-out effort each shift is noteworthy. Everything he does on the ice is predicated by his tireless, persistent, unrelenting Russian motor. On the forecheck, Pod is a puck retrieval machine. I absolutely love this play from him here. Just look at how far away he is when the defender gets the puck at the low circle and how quick he's able to close the gap and meet the defender behind the net. Yeah, it's incredibly poor defending, head up but it's pressure like this in the playoffs that forces mistakes like a bad pass or a hesitation which leads to turnovers. Podkolzin will continually apply pressure on defenses, and when he closes in, he's also very gifted with his stick and body. Podkolzin immediately hunts down the puck carrier after a change in possession and uses his long reach to knock the defender's stick, forcing the puck down towards the boards. He leads with his shoulders to drive the defender into the boards with control and then completes the seal by driving his hips, taking away space and range of motion for the defender. I mean, by the end of the clip, the defender isn't even facing the proper way, just textbook from Podkolzin. Offensively, Vasili Podkolzin has his moments of brilliance. He's an adept goal scorer with a quick and accurate release that I would deem borderline elite. He's also very effective at shielding the puck with his frame and driving to the net for more of a traditional power forward move. I'm sure you've seen some of his ridiculous end-to-end rushes where he splits the D and roofs it, and yes, he absolutely has the skill to pull off these plays. However, I think his hands are closer to being above average than elite at the moment. I say this because while he is able to dance around defenders from time to time, I think a component to that is speed that forces defenders to back off and give him space. When he doesn't have that speed advantage, I think his skill looks tempered. The play here is a good example of this. As he's trying to create room along the half walls and circle the ice, he doesn't have the skill or shiftiness to really make this look dangerous. His head is also down for 90% of this play, and I'm not saying you should have your head up all the time, but it's important to pick the right time to look down, and conversely, when to have your head up to survey the ice. I only mention this because that's how I've come to the conclusion that Podkolzin's hands are only above average. He just doesn't have the puck on a string and seems almost too focused on trying to not lose the puck. Podkolzin is also a threat as a passer, as he can thread seams and go across the grain. For instance, I like this play by Podkolzin in the neutral zone. Here he recognizes that he is in a weak position and needs to make a play to advance the puck. He scans the defensive formation and positioning of his line mates, waits till the middle defender engages him, which opens up a pocket in center ice, and then waits a perfect pass onto the stick of his teammate, knowing that he'll be the first to the puck. He also loves doing this no-look cross-body pass behind the net, which I have a lot of time for. He isn't an elite passer by any means, but there is some vision there, and he has enough skill to execute. Defensively, I love everything about his game. He has solid positioning, situational awareness, and an active stick, and when you combine this all together with his hustle, I think he is a fantastic two-way player. He directs traffic while his head is constantly on a swivel, assessing where his point man is and where coverages need to be. Even when he's hunched over and tired from being stuck on a long shift, he puts in the extra effort to be situationally aware and scan for his man. This is such a good habit to have at a young age. I also like how he defends in the neutral zone. Good neutral zone defense comes from positioning and stick work to deny as many lanes as possible for an outlet pass or rush up the ice. In this play here, Podkolzin is covering the D-to-D pass, the puck carrier, as well as the trailing forward who is gathering speed and is, in my opinion, the most dangerous threat on the ice. Lastly, I love how he competes on the backcheck and takes away time and space. As a defender, I always love it when a forward rushes back and closes the gap or forces a player to take a certain path. It narrows down the player's options, and as a D-man, makes it easier to predict and make the stop. Podkolzin also brings a physical package that I'm sure Benning loves and Canucks fans will too. His physicality coincides with his high effort and forechecking prowess, which allows him to exude pressure all over the ice. Okay, so basically I made a scouting report for Vasili Podkolzin, which was not my intention, but he has so many tools that I like and want to talk about that I'm not really too mad that we've gotten here. But now let's talk about the main point of this video. The risks to Podkolzin as he tries to translate his game to higher levels of hockey. My biggest concern for Podkolzin at the time of the draft was his decision making with the puck, as I found that to be the hardest trait for me to nail down. Firstly, what do I mean when I'm talking about decision making and, in a broader sense, hockey IQ? It's a buzzword that's thrown around a lot with little substance, so I thought I'd define how I interpret the term and how to assess it. When I'm talking about hockey IQ or decision making or how a player thinks the game, I'm talking about how a player is able to analyze his surroundings, understand the flow of play, and then the resulting actions he takes with this knowledge. Can they see opportunities to gain an advantage not only on the current play but also 2 or 3 plays ahead, and what are they doing in the moment to effectively execute? It's one of the reasons why I loved watching Matthew Boldy play this year, because of the little nuances to his game that allowed him to have a hand in dictating play. Whether it was properly setting himself up to receive a pass and one-touch it immediately, or lifting a stick to allow the puck to go to one of his teammates, he's always finding ways to get the puck to advantageous spots. The final ingredient to this formula is, can this player quickly take all of these data points, have the foresight to prepare for the developing play, and execute while under pressure? And this is what made Podkolzin such a difficult prospect to evaluate this year for me and many others. Had he shown a clear, high-end hockey IQ, I think combined with his toolset, he would have been a consensus top 5 pick. But the fact that he only showed glimpses of one, and balanced that out with some selfish play and tunnel visioning, I think is what led to him falling down some rankings into the 7 to 15 range. I think it's fair to say that Podkolzin's understanding of the game is very strong. As I've shown in my analysis of his defensive play, he has a very strong grasp on positioning, and he's able to analyze his surroundings, get to the proper locations, and use his tools to be effective. He anticipates well without the puck in all 3 zones, and he has the instincts to know when to drop back as the trailer in the offensive zone or shoot for a gap in the defense. In this play, he recognizes that he's too far back to really be of any help crashing the net to support his teammate with the puck, so instead, he drops back into an open pocket should his teammate drop the puck back. As his teammate circles the net, Podkolzin slips behind his check and gets a great scoring opportunity out of it in a dangerous position. His ability to read the ice also comes out in his playmaking ability. I like this pass from him in the neutral zone. He doesn't have the speed to attack and sees free ice on the opposite wing for his line mates, so he sauces a puck that leads his teammate to skate onto, almost like a switch in soccer. Notice that his head is up, because when his head is down, that's when he gets into trouble and his awareness shrinks. Let's take a look at a clip where he could have made a play similar to this one, but instead elects to take the puck himself. He dekes into 2 defenders and turns the puck over when a simple pass into open ice to the far side winger would have created a dangerous opportunity. Having just shown that he has the ability to execute the play that I'm describing, why is it that Podkolzin sometimes elects to take the low percentage play and almost get in his own way? Is it because he doesn't trust his teammates and elects to do it all by himself? Or is he just not able to recognize his other options fast enough? I have a third reason that I think, if worked upon, could pay dividends towards his decision-making and all-around game. My theory goes like this. I believe that a lot of the warts in Podkolzin as a decision-maker with the puck stem from his skating ability. His skating is, in my opinion, holding him back, and how it improves as he progresses will be the crux that defines who he becomes as a player. For Vasili, his stride and body mechanics greatly impact the connection between his head and his hands. When we look at his skating technique, there's a flaw with how he creates power in his stride. rather than pushing his feet outwards with a full extension in the knee, he kicks his heel upward without fully extending his leg. This is problematic because he's losing out on potential energy as he's not maximizing the power in his legs. A lot of this power comes from the last movement of his stride where he digs his toe into the ice and drives it backwards without applying much force from his upper legs in the early stages of the stride. This is what causes his heel kick, and can he work so that he gets a full leg extension and pushes outward more while controlling his high heel kick to make it more efficient? Podkolzin's skating can become a strength rather than just average. Obviously, speed, quickness, and efficiency is one way that an improved stride could pay dividends, but I'd argue the bigger benefit to a power skating coach would be how it would affect his ability to read the ice when moving at full speed. Where he falls short in pure power and acceleration to get him up and down the ice, Podkolzin compensates for this with his effort, and in essence tries to will his way past defenders. Through focusing intensely on trying to blow by defenders to make up for his stride, it creates a ripple in his overall game. When he's really trying to bust down the ice, his stride becomes wild and uncontrolled, and this is exacerbated by the technical flaw. He isn't able to shift his weight effectively, and that often leads to poor shot attempts. His wild stride makes it difficult for him to stop on a dime with control, as you can see here. When he stops, it almost looks like he's fighting against himself to stop and take control of the puck to create a shot. This uncontrolled, all-out, brute force strategy sometimes pays off with the highlight goals you've seen, but for every one of those, there have been countless others where he tries to force his way past two defenders and turns the puck over. Because he lacks the true speed and agility, this often gets him into trouble and is a contributing factor to his decision-making. Why he chooses to attempt these Call of Duty search and destroy 1v4 clutch type plays rather than using his teammates relates back to his all-out intensity and poor stride. I think his stride is the catalyst in a chain reaction that leads to Podkolzin turning up the intensity, which then makes him uncontrolled with the puck, and ultimately leads to him having his head down at full speed, not allowing him to read his teammates around him. So that's my argument. I think that Podkolzin isn't negligent about using his teammates, nor insufficient in hockey IQ to process the play. I think it's his skating that does not allow him to properly see the ice when he's going all out, which, if you've been following along, is pretty much all the time. He will do a scan before he begins his rush, but it's almost like he takes a snapshot of the ice and then doesn't look up again to see the new frame. What he's going to do is predicated on his first look, and I think that makes him predictable and less dynamic with the puck at full speed. Because when he is playing with control and gives himself the opportunity to assess his surroundings, he actually makes some very smart decisions managing the puck. To wrap things up, I believe that changes to his stride would allow Podkolzin to transport the puck safely without having to compensate with his all-out effort. This would not only allow him to be in control of his body and the puck, but would also add the benefit of having more time with his head up to survey the ice and make better decisions with the puck at full speed. His other tools will allow him to be a dynamic two-way forward, but should his skating improve, Vasili Podkolzin has the potential to be a shining star in the NHL. So, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm also very sorry for these hiatuses that I keep going on this channel, but the good news is I have graduated undergrad, which feels amazing, and I'm going to have so much more time to make as many high-quality, informative, and entertaining videos that I can for you guys. I have a lot of great ideas that I'll be rolling out as the season starts to get underway. So if you're interested in any prospect stuff, general NHL stuff, pop culture with NHL, and Canucks stuff, I'll continue to be doing some Canucks stuff as well. If any of that interests you, please consider hitting subscribe as well as notification button. And yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Good to be back.